Now, 3 states and the District of Columbia are holding critical primary races today, and that includes a high-profile runoff in the Georgia Senate. Congressman Mike Collins is taking on former college football coach Derek Dooley to be the Republican nominee for the Peach State. The winner will take on Democrat Jon Ossoff in November. Georgia also has a runoff for governor between billionaire healthcare executive Rick Jackson and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. The winner will face former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Let's bring in CBS News political director Fin Gómez. Fin, good to see you today. So which Republican has the which Republican has the highest chance of flipping that Georgia Senate seat in November?
Well, we basically have a proxy battle. So I just want to set it up a little bit. We have a proxy battle right now between the president and popular Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Kemp has thrown his support and his political operation behind the former college football coach in Derek Dooley. And Trump has, of course, backed Mike Collins, Congressman Mike Collins, a close ally of Trump, whom he actually calls, quote, MAGA Mike. So it sets up this sort of political proxy war, Mugo, between the president and Governor Kemp. Their political beef between the two goes back to the 2020 election. And of course, Kemp now is a potential 2028 White House contender. So whomever wins the runoff will face Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff, who has amassed a whopping $32 million campaign war chest. And remember, why does the Senate race matter so much? It's because it's a key Senate battleground race that could determine who controls the Senate. Now, right now, it's the indication is, if you go based on the primary a few weeks ago, that essentially that Collins has the upper hand because he didn't hit the threshold to avoid a runoff, but he had about a 10-point lead against Dooley. And so now with the president's endorsement, that gives him some momentum as he heads in to today's election.
And what about the governor's race? Who is more likely to advance there?
Well, I think it all comes down again to the president's endorsement here and the power of that. Throughout the midterm cycle, we've seen that the president's endorsement holds significant sway in these Republican primaries, Mugo. And in the governor's runoff, both he and Kemp have endorsed Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who's also a strong ally of the president in this critical runoff. And while the president's own son, Donald Trump Jr., stopped short of a full endorsement on X, he did praise Rick Jackson, that billionaire health tech that you talked about, who has been largely self-funding his campaign, his outsider campaign. Senator Ted Cruz, this is interesting, Senator Ted Cruz, who's been eyeing a potential 2028 White House bid, remember he ran back in 2016, has also backed Jackson in this race. But that dynamic of Trump and Kemp joining forces in this runoff, Mugo, may be too big of a hurdle, too big of an obstacle to overcome. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. So we're also following the mayoral primary in Washington, D.C. What is on your radar there?
Well, like I'm watching this one closely, and it's right here in our backyard. The D.C. mayor's race. These local contests, Mugo, they don't really typically get a lot of national interest, a lot of national attention, but this one has become a little bit different. It's an open seat. We haven't seen that in over a decade, with Mayor Muriel Bowser stepping aside, and the front runners are Council member Janice Lewis-George, a Democratic socialist, and Democratic Council member Kenyon McDuffie, who's considered a little bit more moderate. But what really put this race on the national radar, if you will, was that last week the president was asked about the Democratic Socialist candidate Louis George and her campaign. The reporter compared it to New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The president was asked how he felt if Louis George would if she won. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I wouldn't like it, and maybe we'd take back Washington and run it on the federal basis. We won't put up with it. We're not going to lose our businesses. By the way, Washington now is a safe, beautiful place. We had 22 fountains dug that are all working. Not one of them worked for years, for 25 years, 40 years, 58 years.
So this is not the first time that the president has clashed with the local D.C. government, of course, and in D.C. in particular is sort of unique. Unlike New York, under the Constitution, the district is overseen by Congress, which governed it directly until 1973. Then, of course, there was the Home Rule Act of 1973 that's established a local government, a mayor and a city council, but Congress reserved the right at any time, Mugo, to exercise its federal authority over the district. So that political threat, if you will, has been hovering over this race. And one top Democratic strategist told me that his remarks could actually have helped Louis George in this mayoral matchup. We'll see how that turns out tonight as well.
Oh, yeah, we'll be watching. Fin Gómez, as always, thank you so much for your time.